Okay, so when you think about a garden in the dead of winter, what pops into your head? Probably a lot of gray, a lot of brown, just dormant branches, right? Kind of like the whole landscape is just gone to sleep. But what if I told you that for some plants, winter is when the real show is just getting started? Let's dig into how some of them save their absolute best performance for the cold. Yeah, we're all pretty much conditioned to see winter as the end of the line for the gardening season. You know, the time when everything just shuts down and hits pause until spring. It's a totally common and completely understandable way to look at it.
But what if we flip that idea on its head? What if winter doesn't end the show, it just changes the stage? See, when all the leaves fall away, that's when you can finally see a garden's bones, its true architecture, the shape of the branches, the texture of the bark. This is where the subtle, and sometimes seriously shocking, beauty of winter is hiding.
And our first star on this winter stage is the dogwood, or Cornus if you want to get technical. And forget about flowers for a second. We're talking about stems that look like they are literally on fire, just these incredible streaks of color against the snow. So how in the world does that happen? Well, it's all about the age of the wood. The most mind-blowing color comes from the youngest stems, the ones that are only a year or two old. They are just packed with pigments, like anthocyanins, you know, the same stuff that makes autumn leaves turn red, and that color is right there on the surface.
And I mean, the difference is night and day. On one side, you've got that young, vibrant growth, just electric with color. But then you see what happens as the stems get older. They develop this kind of dull, corky, brownish bark that totally covers up all those amazing pigments underneath.
Okay, so here's the secret. If you want that incredible winter color year after year, you can't just plant it and forget it. You have to actively get in there and encourage the plant to keep making that new, young growth. And the best tool for that job? Your pruning shears. And the go-to method is beautifully simple. It's called the 1/3 rule. Basically, in late winter, you go in and you look for the oldest, thickest, dullest-looking third of all the stems. You cut those right down to the ground. Gone. This basically gives the plant a little shock and forces it to send up a whole new wave of young, super colorful stems for the next winter.
And get this, you have an incredible palette to play with. You are not just limited to red. Sibirica gives you that classic, vivid crimson. Midwinter Fire is amazing. It's got this gradient of orange to red, like a flame. You can even get bright chartreuse yellow with Flavoramia, or this unbelievably deep, dramatic purple-black with Kesselringi.
Now, let's switch gears from stems to berries with our next performer, the Winterberry. This isn't your classic evergreen holly. Nope, this one drops all its leaves in the fall to reveal branches that are just absolutely loaded with these brilliant red jewels. But getting those berries, it involves a little bit of matchmaking. The reason is that winterberries are what's called dioecious. Now, that's a fancy-sounding word, but the concept is super simple. You've got separate male plants and female plants. Only the females can make berries, but here's the catch. They can't do it alone. They need a male plant somewhere nearby to do the pollination. No fella, no berries. It's really that simple. The jobs are totally separate. The male's only job is to produce pollen. The female's job is to produce the fruit. So, if you've ever had a winterberry bush that just never gets berries, the number one suspect is a missing or incompatible partner. But wait, it gets trickier. It's not just about having any male and any female plant. They have to be compatible. And for winterberries, compatibility means their flowers have to be open at the exact same time. If his flowers are done before hers even open, pollination just isn't going to happen. Timing is absolutely everything. Thankfully, you don't have to guess. There's basically a cheat sheet for this whole romance. If you've got an early bloomer like Red Sprite, you need an early blooming guy like Jim Dandy. For a late bloomer like Winter Red, you need a Southern Gentleman. Following a guide like this is pretty much the secret to a successful winter romance and a ridiculous amount of berries. So you get this all right, and your plant is covered in these incredible berries. But then you might notice something strange. In the fall, when the berries are at their absolute brightest, the birds seem to just ignore them. Why on earth would they pass up such an obvious, easy meal? Well, the answer is a totally brilliant survival strategy. It's not a mistake, it's on purpose. The plant is essentially banking its food, saving it up for when it's going to be needed the most. So here's how it works, and this is so cool. Early in the season, the berries are actually full of these bitter compounds that birds just do not like. It's a natural deterrent. But as winter goes on, the repeated freezing and thawing, a process called bledding, starts to break down those bitter compounds, basically sweetening the fruit.
So by late winter, when all the other food is gone, these berries have turned into a delicious and often life-saving meal for birds.
Okay, so we've got our star players, the fiery stems of the dogwood and the jeweled branches of the winterberry. So how do we put them together on the stage to create a really show-stopping performance? Well, it all comes down to design.
A great winter design is all about layers. First, you need a backdrop, something dark and evergreen, like a row of spruce or pine trees. That dark background is what makes those bright red and yellow stems just visually pop. Then, in front of that, you plant your dogwoods and winterberries in big, bold groups. And finally, right at their feet, you add some ornamental grasses to catch the frost and add a whole other layer of texture and movement.
And here is a fantastic pro tip. Think about where the sun is in the winter. It's always low in the sky. If you can plant your dogwoods so that the afternoon sun shines through the stems from behind, it will make them look like they are glowing, like they're lit from within. It is such a simple trick for a truly magical effect.
But you know, a truly remarkable winter garden isn't just a silent movie. It's not just about what you see. It goes way beyond color to create a full sensory experience that can engage you even on the absolute coldest days.
Just think about it. You can have scent, the spicy fragrance of witch hazel, which, believe it or not, actually blooms in the middle of winter. You can have sound, that crisp, rustling sound of frozen grasses swaying in the wind, and you can have incredible texture, like the peeling, cinnamon-colored bark of a river birch against the smooth snow. It's a garden you can hear and smell and feel.
And all of this leads to this really fundamental shift in how you think. The goal isn't just to make a garden that can survive the cold. The goal is to create a landscape that is actively defined by winter, by the snow, by the frost, by that low light. It uses winter to its advantage.
So the next time you look out at that winter landscape, don't just see what's missing. Look closer. Look for the structure, look for the color, and look for the life that's actually right there. It really just leaves us with one last question to think about. What secret show is your own landscape just waiting to put on?